Happy Camper Radio, episode 56. Come on, let's go camping. Hello, my friends, and welcome once again to the Happy Camper Radio, the only place you need to be. When you're ready to talk camping, camping is what we're about. Camping is all we talk about. Hello, Daniel, and welcome back to the show.
Not only do we talk about it, I actually do it, Skip. I'm just saying. I just got back from a trip down to Callaway Gardens, and it was awesome.
Now, when's your next trip planned for? Because, you know, and I'm not trying to sound jealous.
Oh,
but
you're jelly.
You are taking in quite a few trips, and you're starting to outnumber me a little bit. That's,
starting?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one for an old guy like me to handle.
Uh-huh. Well, you'll get there. You'll get there.
I'm sure I will. Well, tell us about this trip that you went on.
Well, we went down to Callaway Gardens. That's in it's near Columbus, Georgia. And, you know, I've been going there since I was almost born, literally. I've got pictures. I got to find it to put on the website. Actually, those pictures that you put on the website, that was Easter Sunday. I think I was like 4 years old. That was like right before church that day.
When you were about 4 years old.
Yes.
And had your Easter outfit on.
I did.
This is, folks, this is the only guy that I know of that would be at a campground wearing a suit.
Yeah, we're going to Easter Mass. That's important.
You know, Daniel, I'll never figure you out. I'm going to quit trying. But hey, what do you think of the new outfit?
Very nice. Very
How about
nice.
that? Can you
professional.
tell the difference?
Yes.
Folks, we are talking from our new and improved
Very
Happy
improved.
Camper studio.
Yep.
And what a difference it has made. We acoustically treated the studio this past week. And I am at awe with it right now. This is actually the first episode that we're doing inside the Happy Camper Studios. And Daniel, before we, inside the studio with a new treatment, but before we go any further, we got to add some accent to it, and that means our campfire needs to get fired up, and we're going to do that right now.
Well, I figure if the fire gets low, we can throw some of these foamy things on the wall.
No, you don't.
No?
You don't.
Oh,
not going to work.
Well, we got to keep warm, Skip.
We're going to do that just fine. Maybe tonight we do need to keep warm because the showers that are going to be coming through, the storms here in Georgia, wow, we are going to get nailed big time according to the forecast. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Our phone number here is 404-537-CAMP. You can call us anytime with your camping question, day or night. Just give Daniel and I a shout, leave your name, where you're calling from, and your camping questions or comments in your voicemail. And you can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. Of course, you can access any one of our social media sites very simply by going to our homepage, which is www.happycamperradio.com. And Daniel, we have an extremely good reason to be happy this week.
Do we?
Because, do you know what week this is?
The 56th week we've done the show?
The 56th week, yes. It is the happy anniversary show of Happy Camper Radio. What do you think about that? Wow.
Wait. I thought there were 52 weeks in a year. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we're doing Mars years or something.
I know you're wrong, even for as young as you are. Yes, Daniel. Yes, how about that? 56 weeks we have been podcasting now with this show for 1 full year.
You know, I took a little bit of a break, so I still got a few more years or a few more episodes to go before we
Daniel,
get there.
The show must go on. You know how that
right?
goes. Yes, but
it was a busy season.
It has been, and I'm probably going to have to be sitting here talking to myself next Christmas when the mail service requires your attention, and you got to be carrying all of those big packages to the door.
Yeah,
I just wonder why none of them made it to my door this past
you
Christmas.
Use UPS and not the Postal Service.
That happens, Daniel. that happens sometimes, but hey, it gives you a break.
Oh, thanks.
But anyway, this is our first anniversary show of Happy Camper Radio. And Daniel, I was quite surprised. A lot of folks who watched me go through this whole spiel of designing and dreaming up the idea of having a camping podcast say to me back then, no, it's not going to last. Mm-hmm. It's not going to work out. After about 3 or 4 weeks, you'll get tired of it. It'll fizzle away. You're going to run out of things to say.
Right.
But look, here we are.
And then I came along and...
You came along. And Daniel, that's one of the things we're going to talk about for our very first blitz, should I say, of the program here today. Because what we're going to do is we are going to take a moment to look back on some of our most memorable moments.
Oh boy, this should be
Happy
fun.
Camper Radio.
I'm excited.
And I've got to bring this up because I was thinking about this the other day as I was driving into town. I remember sitting down, paper and pencil, doing all of this, and and you were coming over every now and then, and tossing a few ideas in. But I never really took into consideration at that time how serious you were about wanting to be on the show.
I love this.
All right. And do you remember the day that I brought you on over here? It was a Sunday, and I wanted to do a dry run, and I said, Daniel, here's how the show is going to work. Now, back then, we were not in our own designated studio.
No.
We were in the corner of another room, and it was crammed up. It was crowded, and I did not have a microphone. I did not have a preamp for you.
Yeah.
And I says, Daniel, sit here and watch. This is how the show's going to go. And we did a dry run, or should I say I did a dry one.
I can't even remember.
I remembered
crazy.
Daniel, how depressed you looked because you were not going to be on the opening day of the show.
Right? That's messed up.
And I says, "What? This is really bothering him." So, yes, I went out right away and I picked up a preamplifier and a microphone so we could get a spot for you on the show.
As you should.
And it worked out very well. And I believe it was like episode 3 or 4 is when you actually came into the picture. And, we did a big introduction. Here's Daniel, and Daniel talked a little bit about himself. And
blah, blah, blah.
and we went right from there. But one of my most memorable episodes that, and Daniel, a lot of people think this is an inside joke. And a lot of our older listeners, should I say long-time listeners, know exactly what we're talking about. But there was a show that we did, and you came back from a trip up in North Georgia. You were only gone for a few days, but you came back and you were all excited. You were ready to talk about it.
Oh, yeah.
And we had you on the show at that time. I think it was, in fact, it was episode 10. And we're going to play a little clip from episode 10 when Daniel came back into town and he was bragging about his trip. Let's listen to that right now. I have seen your truck floating around, but I have not seen you. And I thought for a moment that maybe you were here, but your body and soul was still up there in the woods somewhere. And I understand that. I've been there, done that.
That is true, actually. Yeah. My body and soul are always camping. I just wish the rest of me were too.
But anyway, I take it you did have a good time while you were up there.
Oh, it was so relaxing.
Yeah, I
nice.
I heard you went to a quilt show while you were gone.
That is a funny.
Do enlighten us.
Funny conversation right there.
Do enlighten us.
Evidently, your roommate hacked my Facebook account and put all kinds of naughty messages on there.
And now, Daniel, don't go passing the blame because it was no more than Daniel. It was no more than 3 or 4 weeks ago when you talked about that pop-up camper and taking it up there.
Right.
And we were talking about sleeping bags, and you were like, "Oh no, just give me a comforter and a pillow." And
there you go.
Then I saw quilt show. Oh yeah, okay. Well, this got to be good.
It's got to be me.
I thought maybe you'd come back here wrapped up in it. Yeah, I remember that one quite well. Yeah. Daniel and his quilt. When you hear Daniel and I talk about quilts, that's where it all started from.
Yeah.
And to this day, you cannot convince me that anybody but you put on your Facebook page that you were going to a quilt show.
Absolutely, Skip. It was all me. I'll admit it now.
Can you also admit that you were the only guy at that show?
Hey, I gotta break the quilted ceiling, as they say.
That's interesting, but and it doesn't end there because When we moved over here to our new studio, and this is before, long before the acoustic treatment came into play, and we had a serious problem because you were sitting in this one corner and there was tremendous echo throughout the room. And he says, hold on a second, I got just a thing. And Daniel ran home, and he came back with a quilt.
There you go.
And he wrapped it around himself. He put it over his head. I should have taken a picture and put it on the website.
We
He had it wrapped around his head. He had it wrapped around the microphone, and it worked. I mean, it took care of the problem temporarily.
Yeah.
And, and after that, that's, I think it went back into his pop-up camper, and that's where it sits now in preparation for his next camping trip.
Yep.
But that's where the quilt show all came about, and Daniel's big fascination with quilts. You can tell we have lots of fun here at the Happy Camper Radio Show. It's our first anniversary show, episode 56, and we're looking back now at some of our most memorable moments of this past year. And one of the things that I tell folks all the time, and people ask me, say, what are you going to do when you run out of things to talk about? Daniel, there is no such thing as running out of things to talk about in the world of camping. Because I don't care how old you are, I don't care how young you are. If you are at a campsite and you have people gathered around the campfire, you can always find something good to talk about.
Oh yeah, we might, maybe, probably not run out of stuff to talk about, but there are always stories. There are always experiences like your raccoon story or my quilt story. There are always stories, and those are the best. I mean, we can talk about, how to do this, how to do that, the best way to do this, the best way to do that. But the stories are what people really like, and those will never end.
And that kind of reminds me, too, of my niece who is living down in this area now. She and her young son, who she wants to take camping for the first time, she came to me not long ago, and she says, I definitely would like to go on a camping trip with you, Uncle, because, I love your stories. And we can sit around the campfire and we can talk about them for hours. And I know my nephews and, my nieces, they eat these up.
Right.
And, I'm the expert storyteller. At least I think I am.
Of course.
When I'm sitting around a campfire. But that was not the case, Daniel. During one of our other episodes when you declared yourself to be the master storyteller, because what did you do? What did you do, Daniel?
I know where this is going.
You stole for a moment your wife's iPad Mini, and you came on over here and said, Skip, I've got a great episode for today.
Oh boy.
I'm going to tell a ghost story.
Ooh.
So let's listen back now into one of our episodes when Daniel was talking about ghosts and ghost stories. And here's how that went.
One rainy, windy night, not unlike tonight, a man was walking home alone down a dark, deserted street that ran right by the local cemetery. As he passed the gates, he heard a bump in the darkness behind him. Not daring to look back, he quickened his pace, but the bumping noise continued behind him. He stopped and turned to see what it was. Coming down the road behind him was a coffin, standing on end, bumping from side to side. Bump, bump, bump. The man, terrified for his life, turned and ran into the driving rain. Behind him, the coffin came faster. Bump, bump, bump.
Daniel, I don't know about you. I really don't.
What happened? You're not going to finish it?
We just did. The big hook came out of nowhere and just pulled you away.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy. What episode was that, Skip? We're going to have to tell our listeners now what episode that was.
All they have to do is go to our homepage, which is happycamperradio.com, and our listeners can go back and listen to any one of the episodes we have done.
I would recommend that one. If you just discovered that was a good one. That was really fun.
One of the things I will never forget about that episode, Daniel, is I sat here, I turned my microphone down, your microphone was turned up, and I was sitting here with my arms crossed and I'm shaking my head. You have got your wife's iPad Mini, and folks, I'm trying to have you envision this. Daniel is he's not even focusing on the fact that he is podcasting at that moment. He's got his wife's iPad Mini in front of him and just going through the motions. I mean, he is reading through this and he's going bop, 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 like he was pounding something.
Yeah. We should do that.
He was really getting into this. You're going to have to get in touch with Daniel. Maybe he's available for hire.
Right.
You could possibly get him to show up at your camp.
Right.
He might be wrapped up in a quilt.
Right. That's how you know it's me.
He might have a bunch of stories in his back pocket, but
right.
it would be very entertaining. I've got to give you an A+ for that one, Daniel, because I could not envision myself sitting there and getting so emotionally involved in telling a story like you did that day.
Oh, yeah.
It was so
interesting.
A lot of fun. We've had a lot of fun these past several weeks in getting the show, prepared each and every week. And as time goes on, it doesn't really take much preparation anymore.
No, it doesn't.
We just get together and we talk for a second. Okay, what are we going to talk about this week? Okay, and hey, we come into the studio and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to admit, the listeners that we have, the followers that we've had over the past year, I mean, the numbers have been building, Daniel. We've gotten
I'm
friends.
Impressed.
We have made friends from all over the world.
Yeah.
And I look back at some of the locations where, people have emailed us from and saying, hey, we love your program. And, and things like that is what keeps Daniel and I pumped up. It keeps us going. So definitely keep those emails coming, keep the phone calls coming, and, if you want to be on the program, Daniel and I would love to have you. All you got to do is pick up the phone and give us a call. That phone answers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All you have to do is leave us a voicemail message. If you have a show idea, if you have a comment about the show, we'll get you on the program. It's very easy to do. We've got a lot of toys, a lot of gadgets, a lot of buttons here inside the studio. And with the acoustic treatment added now, I mean, it really put this program over the top. And it's really all for you, our listeners, because, a top quality program is something that you deserve. You are actually our guests.
Right.
All right. You're not a guest of the show just by listening. We are your guests, and we thank you for taking the time to allow us into your homes, into your campsites, into your cars as you're traveling, and you're listening to the Happy Camper Radio Show as a part of your everyday life. And each and every week, we have a new episode for you. So, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking the time to spend time with us. Well, I couldn't put it any other way.
Well, not to mention, we've had a couple guests on our show. We've had about 2 or 3 guests, not just talking about, our wife or your roommate, but we've had a few guests on the show to talk about certain subjects. And so, it's always good to get an outside opinion about stuff. So, yeah. We're all inclusive. We're one big camping family here.
Yeah, hey, let's make sure that we remind all of our listeners about an upcoming event coming here. June 28th, it's the Great American Backyard Campout, and we're talking already about doing it bigger and better this year. Let's hope the weather permits. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, and that's one of the nice things about this thing, Daniel, is you unplug all the electronic devices. You take your kids out in the backyard. You make it a block party. You bring over your neighbors, your friends, your cousins, your relatives, and you have one night where you focus on the great outdoors, and it's a great way to instill nature and the beauty of nature into your children. Mm-hmm. And last year, I've got to admit, we had a blast. Hopefully I can stay awake a little bit longer because I crashed long before every one of you all did last year. And who did I get stuck sleeping with was your cat.
What?
Somehow he made it into my tent. And
I remember that.
Yes, and I rolled around and I'm seeing these green eyes looking at me in the middle of the night. So, how did you get in here? But yeah, I mean, I slept pretty good that night, and I woke up and found this telescope outside in my front yard. And I guess you were stargazing in the middle of the night, and I didn't know it.
Yeah.
But there's always a ton of things you can do, and folks, if you do it up right. When you start preparing your food, when you start cooking out, that is the best tasting food that you can ever imagine having.
Yep.
Is, by grilling outdoors. And we're going to have a nice menu this year. We're going to make sure we take a lot of pictures, too.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, we're going to be podcasting
live
from the Great American Backyard Campout again this year. In our backyard, my backyard.
I'll put my quilt under my head so I have good acoustics.
Are you going to pitch your tent?
Oh,
You will pitch
my tent is reserved for that day. That's the
Okay.
only reason I'm keeping it is for that day.
All right.
No pop-up for this guy.
I'm looking forward to it, Daniel. And this time, your tent is going to be where my tent was last year.
Oh.
Because those birds are above above the tent in the trees, and they take perfect aim each and every time. So let it hit the front of your tent and not mine.
Wow, Skip, that's very neighborly.
But hey,
of you.
no, that's all about nature, and that's exactly that's exactly what you can expect when you go camping. So enjoy the very best of it anytime that you get an opportunity to take your friends, your kids especially, on a backyard camp out or a camp out just about anywhere in the world you want to go. The world is waiting for you. Daniel, I have one more episode that I want to reflect back on. And speaking of the backyard campout, this was an episode that we recorded from last year's Great American Backyard Campout. And it didn't involve really you, but it was a conversation I was having with your better half while you were throwing Frisbees and trying to catch it like a dog.
In my mouth? I don't remember this.
You could have very well been doing that. But this is a conversation that we had, and your wife Deidre was here at the time, and she just got back from a concert. And I never
what
in my
concert was
life,
this?
I never in my life expected
I need some
somebody,
clarification.
of your wife's caliber to be going to a concert and screaming her lungs off like a teenager.
Yeah.
But we captured her on voice that night on microphone, and this is exactly how that conversation went.
I think Daniel kind of ventured away from the podcast for a moment because he is just loving all over his orange tabby cat right now, who just come up here looking for attention. Hey, and I've got to admit, he ate pretty good tonight, didn't he? Yes, Deidre, huh?
He did. He had himself a whole rib to himself.
DJ, what's I know I don't mean to poke fun at you, but I know your voice is very, very hoarse. Are you yelling at this guy today?
I wish. No, I was at a concert the other night.
Oh, you were screaming at the Deidre, teenagers do that. Well, hey, go ahead. You could tell us.
Yes, I was seeing the first love of my life, Donnie Wahlberg, from the New Kids on the Block. So I was screaming at him. Yes, I was like a teenager again.
Well, Deidre, I'm sorry, I can't get so excited about that because at my age, I don't know who Donnie Wahlberg is. I don't know who that is.
Ooh. That was something. I gotta admit.
That was pretty funny. That was
Daniel,
epic.
I love the Doobie Brothers.
Yes, you do.
All right, and you want to talk about old time. All right, that's going way back. I love the Doobie Brothers, but I've got to stop and think about, wow, if I went to a Doobie Brother concert today, like I did back when I was 17 years old, I would probably be screaming at the top of my lungs when Tommy Johnson and Pat Simmons and all them came out on the stage, and I would come back home that night and have no voice.
There you go. Well, you and my dad could go. Y'all had a lot of fun. Because he's a big Doobie Brother fan, too.
And we're going to have to sit down and have a talk about that
I'm
sometime.
trying. I got to get him on the show one of these days. I'm going to get his butt over here.
Yeah, we're going to get him over here, and I told you like last week we're going to get your sister over here, too.
Oh, boy.
Get her on the show.
Yeah, she wants to borrow the pop-up. The pop-up's in the shop.
What does it matter? I mean, you come over here and borrow stuff all the time, so let her borrow your pop-up
You're the neighbor.
camper.
Haven't you ever seen The Simpsons? You're my Ned Flanders. That's what you do.
But anyway, it's our happy anniversary show here at Happy Camper Radio, doing things up a little bit different this week and kind of reflecting back on some of the episodes that we did last year. And Daniel, it's been a good run. I've got to admit that. We've had a lot of fun, and we're going to continue having more fun into 2014 and making this program and just about everything that we do in the world of camping exciting and adventurous for all of the people who take the time to listen to what you and I have to say each and every week.
I mean, I haven't said this before, but all those clips that you played, now that we're in this studio, this professional studio, it's gonna get better. I swear it gets better and better every week, and I feel like we've been doing this for a year, but I feel like I've just stretched out. I've just stretched out my podcast legs, and I'm just ready to go. I'm ready to go.
And folks, this is the same guy who I get excited when I buy something new, for the studio. And I says, Daniel, guess what just came in the mail today? He goes, oh, what did you buy now?
Oh, I love it.
This was well worth the investment, Daniel.
Right.
And like I says, it was a real chore trying to put this acoustic system in place. And incidentally, folks, if you want to take a look at it, I've snapped some pictures and put it on our Facebook page. All you got to do is go to facebook.com/Happy Camper Radio, and you'll see the brand new acoustic treatment inside our studio that we're podcasting from for the very first time here during our anniversary show. It's time now for our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. Daniel, I wanted to take us somewhere closer to home as part of this special event. So, I reached out to a location that kind of like you in a way I have been to.
Ooh.
And we are going to go to Payne Campground on Lake Allatoona, and that's located right here in Georgia. It is absolutely beautiful up there if you enjoy camping, if you enjoy nature, if you enjoy the outdoors, if you enjoy the lake. This is paradise, my friends, and take some time to take a look at it on our webpage. All you've got to do is go to www.happycamperradio.com and click on the featured campground button on the right-hand side of the page, and there will be all week long. It is Payne Campground on Lake Allatoona. It sits on the banks of Allatoona Lake, providing visitors with a variety of water activities. If you are into boating, and this is a great place to bring your boat if you have one. It's located only 35 miles from Atlanta, and Lake Allatoona is situated on the Etowah River, a tributary of the Coosa River. And plenty of things to do up there. The facility has 57 spacious, reservable campsites conveniently located near the dock and the swimming beach. So everything is kind of like right there on the lake. And like we talked about last week, I love these campgrounds where you can get a spot and you're right there on the lake. So when you wake up, you've got that beautiful view right in front of you. Take a look at some of the photographs that are on their webpage there. The activities that they have, some of the amenities include accessible flush toilets, beach boat ramp, dock dump station if you're bringing your pop-up camper. Say if you have the like Daniel, if you got the facilities inside there, or your motorhome or your travel trailer, you're definitely going to need that. Electrical hookups, fire rings, great fishing in the lake there. Make sure
can
you go
I
ahead.
say something about this
What's
real
that?
quick?
Yeah.
I've been here too. I used to go here like every year with the Boy Scouts. We would do the pioneer camping.
Yeah.
And, you had to bring like a guardian or something. So my parents would bring their pop-up, and my mom would make spaghetti, and everyone else was in their tents doing the pioneer thing like you would. And they'd come to our pop-up and like, hey, you got any spaghetti left? And we would give all these Boy Scouts spaghetti. But it was just like in the middle of the woods, right near the lake, and we went there like every year. It was a blast.
More reason
awesome
to visit. You never know when you're going to run into Daniel and I up here. But, hey, every one of the campsites, should I say, have lantern holders, swimming showers, a lot to do there. Some of the things you need to know before you go. They do have a maximum of 2 pets permitted per campsite, a maximum of 8 people per campsite. But you can find all the information out on our homepage by clicking on the featured campground button. It is Payne Campground on Lake Allatoona, and it is our featured campground of the week here on the Happy Camper Radio Show. And as always, if you have a campground that you would like Daniel and I to feature, all you've got to do is drop either one of us an email, Skip, S-K-I-P, at happycamperradio.com.
Daniel at happycamperradio.com.
And
make sure
you click on the.
Do we have an Instagram? We need an Instagram account.
Hey, we're gonna work on that too.
We need to
Daniel.
put all our pictures on there, and then we got people follow us there.
That's going to wrap it up for us, folks, here on our first anniversary show of the Happy Camper Radio Show. And we've had a blast. We've had a great time reflecting back on some of our past memories. And Daniel, it's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to more shows here in 2014.
Oh, yeah.
And our listeners, hey, thank you again for being supportive and being a part of this very special program that Daniel and I hold very dear to our heart. Don't forget, you can catch us online anytime at www.happycamperradio.com. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Camp Talker, and add us to your circles on Google+. The Happy Camper Radio Show is a presentation of Skip Huber Productions. I'm Skip. I am a happy camper. Daniel's a happy camper. His wife's a happy camper. She's been sitting here very quiet in the studio tonight.
Yep,
and you, my
here.
friends, can be a happy camper too. We'll catch you next week. This is Happy Camper